Read the one that you are comfortable with. Just go with comfortable with.
อะไรครับเขียนถึงไป
No, it's just like. Right with me now, so that I'm not the only one.
มันสูงกว่ามันอ่ะน่าจะเหมือนกันหมด
คือเขา
No, no, but I
ใช้เวลาพอ
คือไม่ได้
มันไม่ได้ตรงตัวมันต้อง
No, 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 no. I did not talk. I did not like talk to you. I said you guys had me out. Was it the yeah, what's the right?
คือมันไม่เกี่ยวกับวันนี้
นั่นเอง
มันไม่เกี่ยวกับวันนี้
ก่อนนอนอันนั้น
คือเขาว่าอันนี้แบบเมื่อวานใช่ปะเขาแบบว่าเดี๋ยวเขาจะแบบเป็นฟังอีกรอบนึงแล้วเขาเอาหนังสือไปดูเลยเล่นซื้อแต่เขาแบบแต่ถ้าอันเสร็จแล้ว
บีบใส่ซาบะ
I don't know if I would always say
น้องเขาบอกใส่ถุงตลาด
ตัดทำไมมีกระเป๋า
มันร้อนต่อไปหรอ like
ไม่ใช่แบบนี้
ก็แบบมีความแบบเรา
อะไรอ่ะ
มองในการแบบโยนความคิด
แต่ท่านเจ็บ no but this is what changing topics it's not my fault
เนี่ยปีจับเนี่ยปีจับปี
no it is but just read Roman Britain first and then go back
กูอะไรกูอะไร
go back to อันนี้จำ
พูดมาสิไหนทดสอบความรู้ที่เรียนกับทุเรียนสิมีเลย
Basically means tell me the answer my question.
Answer what is the third letter on the slide 24
should we know the difference
No, that's only one slide.
ทำไม
One of
ถึง
them.
อันนี้คือในสไลด์
I no, no. I was only two letters off. As if that's any concept.
กินหมด
นี่ไงนี่ไม่ทันว่าอันนี้ไม่ผิด
No one's caring but you got fun income you have 5 days to bring income
I think it's four, but we're getting close enough.
อันนี้อู้
That will be the most interesting thing.
หอมไหม
I mean,
พ
like
รุ่ง
interesting.
นี้อ่ะ
It won't be
มา
like hardly on
ต้องขอแม่ดีนะ
but it will be.
ต้องเรียนเนี่ย
It won't be.
คือต้องไป
like a short answer
His Excellency
yesterday guys we asked out now I'll say
ไม่อันที่สองอะไรนะอะไร
อ๋อสอนแต่ว่าอะไร
อ๋อ
อีกอย่างเราถูกปล่อยไว้ด้วยนะกี่โมง11:10แล้ว
โคโซโวโคโซโวเหรอ
เช็คเว็บดิ
หรืออิรัก I can tell you about Kosovo อะไร
ไอ้บอก
ไม่บอกโอ้ย
ยาดี
มันทำลายกัน
เสร็จไหม
คนที่ยูพูดแล้วยูบอกว่าไม่พูด
No I thought you didn't watch the movie
เอ้ยเอา
อ๋
ง่าย
อ
ไปเลยครับ
ๆขาเรา
ใส่ใส่
เอาง่ายๆอย่างนี้
ไม่ต้องเสร็จเปิดเป็นกันของนี้นะ
เวลาล่าสุดที่โพสต์ถ่ายมาแล้ว
อาจารย์ก็จะสอน
บ้านรักคือดีดา11 นาทีที่ก็พูดก็พูดจบก่อนเจอรับ
ไม่มีทางกูใช้เวลา2 ชั่วโมงจะดูคนไม่ได้
ถ่าย
ดูว่า
ได้แล้ว
thing in Britain right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
About
about Brexit.
They should just do it. Now, this
What's your
whole
opinion
thing
on that?
was so predictable. When they decided to do Brexit, and then, okay, so we're going to negotiate it with the EU. The EU has no interest in Brexit being successful. If, they what?
They haven't accepted and making it not successful.
They have every incentive to make it not successful. So what England ended up, England has negotiated something worse than Brexit. England has negotiated, okay, all the rules will still apply to us, but we no longer get a say in how they're being made. And that's the essence of what Theresa May has come back with. Oh, and then the best part, but in return for this, we also agreed that that all the rules that apply to us and any other changes, we will never ever withdraw from in the future. That's what they've agreed, that's the deal she negotiated. That's worse than Brexit. That's worse than staying. I mean, I'm just like, just leave. There'll be disruption, but I really don't think it's going to be nearly as disruptive as people are saying. All the people who are in the government, in the British government, who are saying, oh, this is going to be a disaster. Yeah, those are all the people who were opposed to Brexit to begin with. So, you know, it happens. So, anyway, that's my view on Brexit. Just do it. Do it and get it over with. Just hard Brexit, suck it up, and get on with their lives. And let Europe get on with their lives as well. So. The problem for England is what do they do after Brexit? I mean, the benefit of being out of the EU is that England gets to set their own rules again. The downside is there's no guarantee England will set good rules. But at least they have the potential to. The problem is the EU is not going to set good rules, no matter what. Because the EU is not an economic organization and never has been. It has always been a political enterprise. The economics has always been secondary to the politics. But then when you get politicians like that blatantly suborning economics to politics, you're not going to get good economics. And the EU has not had good economics for 25 years now. So, anyway, that's my my thoughts on Brexit. But today we're going to talk about my thoughts on economics. Okay, first of all, I updated my website a lot. I've posted some study guides. I have posted most of the notes since the midterm, but a lot of them are corrupted files. I don't know what the problem is. You'll click on the link and you'll get like blank pages or error messages. I don't know what the problem is. I mean, I've made the files, but I'm having trouble uploading them to the server. So I called the server people today, and tonight we're going to walk through and see if we can figure out what the problem is. Because I don't think it's on my end. I think it's on their end. Because I've tried multiple computers. You know, I saved the files on multiple computers. On my computer, when I do the file, it works. When I upload it, it gets corrupted. And I've tried uploading from 3 different computers. So I think it's a setting in the server, which is located in Houston. And if I knew what I was doing, I could probably reset it. I think there's just, my website went down like 2 weeks ago, so they just restored it from the backup. But I think when they restored it, it changed some of the security protocols, and I don't understand those things. So, anyway, so there will be more coming. Today, wanted to do the meeting over. theorem. I think I'm still going to teach it. The median voter theorem. The median voter theorem is just a very simple economic model of collective decision making. I should back up. My expertise in economics is not, definitely not macroeconomics, and not really standard microeconomics. My expertise is collective decision making economics. In other words, how collective groups of people make decisions. This is called public choice economics. And public choice economics is economics, it gives me a very different perspective on the political system than most other economists have. So, for example, your Thai government puts a price ceiling on something, then there's a big supply shift inwards. Now we have this, here's my supply, here's my demand, and we have a shortage because the quantity supplied and the quantity demanded, there's a gap. And for the standard economist, they look at this and they see a government mistake. Okay, the government has made a mistake. How do we rectify the mistake? I don't really see it that way. I see it as, I wonder who in the government is benefiting from that. And I wonder why they've chosen to do it that way. In other words, when your government does bad economic policy, my assumption is not that they're fools. My assumption is, why did they choose to do this? And that's really the essence of public choice economics. We take economic models and we apply them to politics. But we keep the same assumptions about people. I assume that as a consumer, you are rational. I assume that you make plans. And I assume that these plans are designed to benefit you. Not we, not other people. You. I don't view this as being selfish. I just view this as being self-interested. But I don't have a problem with self-interest. In this wallet, I have my money. It's my money. I earned it. I don't think that makes me selfish. I think I work for the money. I should get the money. I think the selfish people are the ones who think that the way everything will be better is if they take my money and give it to someone else. No, don't do that. Use your own money for that, if that's what you want to do. I will give my money to other people, and I will give to charity and stuff. But that's my choice. And I really don't like definitions of, charity or, generosity when, I think I might have told you this, my definition of generosity is how much of my time and labor and money I'm willing to give to others without expecting to be rewarded, which is actually the same as your standard socialist. Your standard socialist also defines charity as how much of my money and my time and my labor they're willing to give to others. That does not strike me as generosity. Okay, so this is how I view these kinds of things. So let's talk about just, I'll give you just a little difference between government and between politics and markets. You've seen Thai politicians running for office and stuff, right? And do they always act nice to each other? Do they sometimes say bad things about each other? Why? Can you do that in the market? sometimes. Although you're very constrained in how much of that you can do in the market. Let me give an example. I had to fly to Did great. I had to fly to Japan about a year ago, and I didn't know what carrier to take, ANA or Japan Airlines. So I went on to, I forget. My wife was watching some TV show when a commercial for ANA came on, All Upon Air. And the commercial started with All Upon Air. Fly to Tokyo for this. And you'll always get there, because not all planes do. And they switched over to a view of a JAL plane. And then they said, JAL has had over 23 major safety violations according to the Japanese Authority on Air Travel in the last 3 years alone. JAL. If you don't have to get there, and then it switch it back to ANA, we always arrive correctly. Did any of you see that commercial? Would any of you ever see that commercial? Why not? Why does ANA never, ever, ever talk about their safety record in comparison to anyone else's? It could what? It could happen. Do politicians say bad things about other politicians?
Yes.
How is it different? Why are these two settings different? Look, I'm a politician. You should vote for me. Don't vote for my opponent. My opponent? Well, my opponent is really good with kids. I mean, really good with kids. Would that be a successful, would that work in politics? Very often it will. So how are these two, how is this different? This is how many passengers ANA and JAL have. This is how many passengers they have going between here and Bangkok. And this is how many votes two politicians expect to get in an election. This one first. ANA runs that ad showing JAL planes crashing into the ocean. Are people going to keep flying JAL? Not as many. That'll go down to 400. Okay. What's going to happen here? Is this going to go up to 1,400 or up to 1,600? What is they running? Why would this ad be so effective? Because it's showing you what can happen when you get into an airplane. I mean, you've all been in airplanes, right? Okay. How do they fly? The wings don't move. I've seen birds fly. The wings move. In an airplane, the wings don't move, and it's made out of metal. How does it fly? Oh, and if the wings on the plane are moving, that's bad. You ever look at the wings on an airplane and see the pendulum like that? Yeah. How the hell does that work? And now I can talk to you about Bernoulli forces and weight to thrust ratios and stuff like that. But fundamentally, it's a great big giant flying metal coffin that's held up by magic. So if I start showing advertisements of planes crashing into the ocean, are people going to think, wow, that flying metal coffin is really dangerous, but this one's just fine? No, they're not. who see that ad, they're not going to say, I better not fly JAL. They're going to say, I better not get into one of these death traps because they're horrible. Does ANA win? They've gained market share. They now have a larger part of the market, but they've shrunk the market so much that they're getting less customers than they did before. You will never see Coke and Pepsi pointing out that the other one's product causes tooth decay. You'll never see direct competition between firms on anything that could reflect badly back on the other firm. They want to maximize their customers. That's not the same thing as maximizing market share. But now let's consider an election where I have pointed out that my opponent is really good with the children. And there are police reports to prove it. Do I look good talking that way? I look like a creep. I look like a creep. Who are you going to vote for? The creep or the child molester? There's a lot of that. A lot of no on. But more people will vote for the creep than the child molester. And I win the election fairly handily. Economics is a positive sum game. Very often, politics is not. Politics is very often a zero-sum game. Or a negative sum game. Do you know these terms? Positive sum, negative sum? A positive sum game is both sides can gain. And any time in economics there's an exchange, both sides gain. Because one side, one person said, I value that more than you do. And the other one says, yes, and this thing I have, I value it less than you do. So by exchanging these goods, I now have more value, and you have more value. We both won. Every market transaction, assuming away externalities, every market transaction is like that. Both sides gain. Or both sides at least believe that they're gaining. So that's positive sum. But in politics, if I tax him $100 to give to you, is that positive sum? That's zero sum. It's zero sum because, yes, she gained $100, but he lost $100. So we haven't added anything. We haven't added anything. Oh, and I took my $20 too. So he lost 100, she gained 80. And what happened to the other $20? I went and bought myself another Rolex. Because clearly you need generals with 30 Rolexes transferring money from this side of the room to this side of the room, and then transferring different money from this side of the room to that side of the room. A lot of politics is either zero sum or negative sum. And so that's why things will often look different when talking about markets and politics. This doesn't mean we shouldn't do anything collectively. We should. I mean, public goods are a really useful thing. There are externalities in the world. So there are things that the government should do. But this is why I like markets to do most things. And I want to keep the government only doing those things absolutely necessary. Okay, so for the rest of today, I'm going to talk about now the median voter theorem. And we will start with direct democracy. What I'm going to explain here is why your politics, your elected politics, looks the way it does. And I'm going to, using economic theory, I'm going to explain where Thaksin came from. Thaksin was intentional. The people who wrote the Thai Constitution in 1997 intended to create Thaksin. They didn't intend to create the Thompson they created, but they did intend to create the Thompson. All right, so we have 11 voters. We've got 11 voters named Al, Brian, Kathy, David, Edward, Frank, whatever. Okay. So we've got these 11 voters, and each of these voters is voting on how much to spend on building a new public school. So that they live, this is some rural community in Thailand, and they need a budget for the public school. Okay. And we have, this person wants 20, 17, 14, 13, 11, 9, 8, 8, 5, 5, and 4. This is how much each of them sort of wants to spend. Give me a proposal. Let's say one group wants to spend 5, or some people want to spend 5, someone instead proposes 17. And let's assume everybody will vote to begin with. Assume everyone votes. Assume no strategic behavior. Strategic behavior is when you don't reveal your true preferences. It's when you don't reveal exactly what it is that you want, because in revealing it, you allow other people to gain power. Because now that they know what you want, they can craft things in such a way as to maximize what they want. So we'll assume that away for the moment. That's a huge assumption when we assume that away. Very often in legislative processes, people vote for things they don't want. They vote for things they don't want to preclude things that they really don't want, or as a negotiating ploy to get them to where they really do want. All right. So assume everyone votes, assume no strategic behavior, and assume vote for the closest number of the pair. In other words, we'll compare two numbers, and then people will vote for whichever one is closest to their preference. So, 17 and 5. Who will vote for 5 and who will vote for 17? They'll vote for 5. They'll obviously vote for 5. That's exactly what they want. Is 8 closer to 17 or 5? 5. Is 9 closer to 5 or 17? 11. 11 is 6 away. 11 is 6 away. Not sure. And then these will vote for 17, 17, 17, and 17. So, what wins? 5 wins the election with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 votes. So it's either 6 to 5 or 7 to 4. Who's the median voter? In other words, who's the voter in the middle? This one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what did the median voter vote for? voted for 5. And this is the weak version of the median voter. The weak version of the median voter is any pair of proposals, the one the median voter wants wins. The median voter will always vote for that proposal that they prefer the most. That's the weak version. But is there anything that can beat 5? Is there any proposal that can beat 5? What if instead of 17, we said 14? Who would vote for 14 over 5? 14, 14, 14, 14. 11 is closest, is only 3 away from 14. 9 is 5 away from 14. But 4 away from 5, 5 will still win. What if instead we said 13? 9 is 4 away from 13, 4 away from that. So we will have these 5 voting for 13, these 5 voting for 5, and the median voter could vote either way. But whichever way he votes, that one will win. And if instead we did 11, now the median voter would vote for 11. 8 is 3 away from 5. 8 is 3 away from 11. We don't know how they'll vote. And there's only 3 people now who would vote for 5, for certain. And we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people who will definitely vote for 11. Of course, is there anything that could beat 11? 8 could, because 9 is closer to 8. But is there anything that could beat 8? How about 9? Once we're at 9, F will always vote for 9. If a higher number than 9 is proposed, they'll vote for it, but him and all of them will vote against it. And if a number less than 9 is proposed, they'll vote for it, but F and all of them will vote against it. And this is the strong version of the median voter. In the strong version of the median voter, in the long run, the median voter gets what he wants. In the long run, the median voter will get what the median voter wants. Now, what would happen if A and B have relatives in another province, and the parents in that province die in a terrible traffic accident, and A and B inherit a bunch of kids they now have to take care of? Will they want to spend more on schooling? Yes. So I'm going to change the number to 40 and 30. Has anything changed? Has anything here changed? These numbers are much higher. These people care a lot more about having big schools. And what will that do to the resulting school budget? Oh, what does the median voter want? the median voter wants to spend this amount. Doesn't matter how much they care. This is an important thing about politics. Markets measure, not perfectly, but markets do a pretty good job of measuring both the direction of what you want and how intensely you want it. If I decide to auction this phone, who will win the auction? The person who wants it the most. That's a mechanism for kind of revealing who wants what and how much they want it. Political systems and voting systems often can't measure that. Let me give you an example. We're a democracy here, right? Well, we should be. So, could we all take a vote? Let's all take a vote on lighting her hair on fire. And watching her run around the room with her hair on fire. That could be amusing, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Does this side of the room vote for that?
Yes.
A couple of you vote for it too? Anyone? I'm going to vote for it. And I'm going to be a voter. So we have democratically voted to light her hair on fire. And then we can watch her run around the room. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Who cares about this more? Who cares about this the most? She does. But she only gets one vote. Okay, some of you voted with her as well. You have some friends. But a majority wanted to light their hair on fire, and that could be fun, so let's do that. No, I don't think most of the people here really care that much. I mean, yeah, doing that, but I've seen them in the back. 3 minutes into her running around screaming, they'll be back on their phones. On the other hand, I don't think she'll be on her phone while her hair is on fire, or when she's in the hospital recovering from it. Voter preference. Voting systems don't do a good job of measuring preference, only direction. Markets do a pretty good job of measuring direction and intensity. These people really intensely want this. Whatever. At least the way we phrase things now. So, let's now relax one of the assumptions. I assume that everybody votes. Does everybody vote? No. Not everyone votes. Why not? Should everyone vote? Why should everyone vote? To get like your voice, showing like your voice in politics? Why should everyone vote? I know you've all been taught this. Why not vote? I can think of reasons why not to vote. Why should you? No. Why should you? Do you have to get up in the morning and actually vote? You voted? Why did you vote? Because your mom made you. Your mom made you vote. Okay, so it wasn't too costly. Why do we all have to vote? It's our patriotic duty. It's... Okay. Maybe what?
Like when for example, like when you make a decision, and if one friend don't vote, so we can make a decision, and then like if you vote, whatever is off is so you're not gonna play anything.
But this is among your friends? Oh, okay. Do you vote with your friends about like where you're going to go for lunch or where you're going to go for dinner?
Yes.
You do. Do you like actually have a vote?
Yeah.
Oh, you do.
Yeah, raise your hand.
Always. I literally put it every day on the checkbook.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a way of resolving it. Generally speaking, I don't do that. But when I go out to dinner, my wife and I, we go out with friends, we informally vote. We negotiate about it. And most of us have a veto. As in, there's a couple of restaurants I'll go to, but no, I had Indian last week, I don't want Indian this week. And we kind of cycle through. And if someone goes along with everyone else's request a couple of times, then they kind of get to say, hey, we've gone to that restaurant like 8 times. I want to go to this one. And then the rest of us will sort of, so yeah, there is a negotiating procedure there. And it's also important in that kind of situation to vote, to actually, give input into the process. But voting for your member of parliament is not the same thing. Who is your member of parliament? Can any of you name the member of parliament that comes from your district? And the name is? I'm very impressed that you could say that name, much less know it. Okay. Congratulations. When I taught this in PE, none of them could name their member of parliament. So, will you be a well-informed voter when you vote? When you go to vote, will you be well-informed? Why vote? I still haven't heard a compelling reason to vote.
You have a right to do it. People fight for the right to do it. You have a right to do it.
Okay. What is the likelihood that your vote will make a difference?
Or something happening.
If everyone thinks that why do you have to go to work and no one will go to work?
Oh, that's not true. I would. If everyone else thought that they shouldn't vote because it doesn't make a difference, I would definitely go vote.
How do you know
Because
that?
then I would get to decide everything.
No, but if you don't know that they're not going to vote, then you're not going to if you don't have any vote.
That's true, but I know that a lot of them will vote, and therefore my vote will count for nothing. I mean, effectively, my vote will count for nothing. Will my vote decide any large election? I calculated this out. I calculated for those who are interested, 1 over the square root of n times pi, where n is equal to 1/2 plus 1 of the total number of voters, multiplied by p, multiplied by 2p minus p squared to the nth power. You don't need to know this equation. I'm just putting it up there because I know it. I've forgotten a lot of equations, but this one I actually remember. This is the likelihood of a tie vote. This is the likelihood of a tie vote, and if the probability of one person or the other winning is exactly 50-50, in other words, the electorate is split right down the middle. The likelihood of a tie vote is this. We won't work the number out. First time I tried to, I had to send it to a friend in the US because Microsoft Excel could not do the number. Because it was it was like 2.3 times 1 over 10 to the 27th. I mean, 27 zeros, and then 27. But Microsoft couldn't handle a number that small. That is the equivalent of winning the lottery, of winning a 1,000 baht lottery. 11 million times in a row.
เอาเรื่อง
It is
เขาเขียนสูตรให้ดู
infinitesimally
เฉย
small. So again, I ask you, why vote? This is the great paradox of voting for economists. Economists believe it really doesn't make sense to vote. Not in a big national election like that. I had a professor, Professor Gordon Tullock, who did not get a Nobel Prize, but he should have absolutely deserved one. But he told us, in the US when you vote, you get a little sticker that says I voted. And he told us, if you come into my classroom with one of those stickers, I will fail you. Because it's not rational to vote, and if any of you do, you're not rational, and therefore you're not fit to be an economist, and I'm not going to let anyone graduate from this program who's not rational. No, he said that to us. And we kind of believed him because he was scary. No. Gordon Tullock was scary. My first semester in grad school, we were at like this small, there were about a dozen of us, at a conference table with him. It was like a brown bag lunch, and I asked him a question. And he looked at me, and he said, "You're not very bright." And then he just took someone else's question. He didn't even answer my question. I did not speak in grad school for 2 years after that. I was so mortified and so embarrassed. Although one of the other professors afterwards did take his side and said, "Okay, look, Gordon is like that. Just understand he's like that." I'm like, okay. Still didn't speak. But I did have to take it. So I took him for the class. When I took him for the class, he told us about that, and I voted, and I went to class with the I voted sticker. And this was a class of 6, there were only 6 of us, because a lot of people tried to not take Gordon Tullock because he's so scary. But I went in and I had it, and the other students are like, "Dude, take the sticker off." I'm like, "I can't." Like, "No, you have to take it." And then Gordon Tullock came in, and so everyone just quiet. And then he sat down and says, "All right, well, I want to, Mr. Kennedy, yes, you have an I voted sticker." I'm like, "Yes, I do." And he said, "I told you voting is irrational, and that I'd have to fail you." And I said, "Well, but voting isn't always irrational. And in this case, it wasn't." He's like, "Explain yourself." "Well, there's this very attractive woman in the office I work at, and she really cares about politics and voting and all that kind of stuff. And I really want to get into her pants." And he looked at me and he said, "Getting laid, that is an acceptable reason." and I got my manhood back. After that, I could again. I had stood up to Gordon Tullock. But that really was what he said. Like, getting laid is an acceptable reason. It does not make sense to vote. Look, it doesn't make sense to vote if the reason you're voting is to change the outcome of an election. So why do people vote? A lot of virtue signaling.
The result affects them.
Yeah, and if they don't vote, it'll be the same result.
But it's like the chance for them like to decide who their representative and what they can do across.
ทนายแก๊ง
Except you're not deciding anything. You're just you're spending a morning going to do something that will make no difference.
Sleeping in bed is not saying I'm going. If you feel like you're not going to make a difference, then you
มันเห็นกูแอด
Well, isn't that what most voters actually do?
ไม่ก็
How many of you
เดี๋ยวกู
know
ส่ง
you're a
ให้
member of
มันต้อง
parliament?
เอาลงใน Google Drive ก่อน
What is the likelihood that you're going to vote correctly if you don't even know who's running?
กูอัดประมาณ2 อาทิตย์
Look, there are people who are very well informed about politics. I am. Ajahn Ed is. Ajahn Matt, somewhat less so. Steve's political views are undefinable.
อันนี้มาเนี่ยตอบยาก
And
เพราะว่ามีการแบบบางทีเขาจะมีแบบสเปซิฟิก
I can't.
เซนเตอร์กาวนะ
He has a very soft voice. I hear you. He has a soft voice, and I don't have good hearing. So I am.
ปัจจุบันเนี่ยมันคุยเพื่อนสนิทคุยจริง
I'm not making fun of him. I'm simply pointing out he has a soft voice, and I am going deaf. Every year I work really hard on going more deaf. Because someday, when my wife is talking to me, she'll sound like Ajahn Peter. And I won't be able to hear her. I'm praying for that day to come soon.
ชินเวทชินเวท
No, I've had this discussion with my wife's mom. He's blind. You know, and we had a conversation about it. And I said, look, dude, you screwed up. You went blind. You should have gone